Hey guys, welcome back to Coach Hall Writes. Today's video was inspired by my pre-AP English 10 students who are currently working on their first ever synthesis essay. So part of what we've been talking about in class is not only how to annotate the sources, but how to create a defensible thesis. And one of the things that I have challenged my students to do is to construct a counter-argument thesis. So in this video, we're going to talk about how you actually construct one of those. That way you can create a defensible claim. One of the great things about a counter-argument thesis is that you can use it for both AP Lang Q1, the synthesis, and AP Lang Q3, the argument. So for the purposes of this video, we're going to be looking at it through the lens of the synthesis essay, in particular the locavore prompt, which asks students to identify the key issues and implications of eating locally. So a lot of the prompts honestly use phrases like key issues or factors, but not every single prompt does. However, when you're given a prompt that asks you about key issues or factors, one of the first things you want to do is to make a list of all those possible factors. This could be done before you actually approach the documents or as you're reading. Now that you have your list of factors, the next step is to actually decide which of those factors are the most important. So you're going to be creating a hierarchy of sorts because you need to assert that certain factors are more important than others. So for this, I would choose 2 to 3 factors because you want to have enough to fill your body paragraphs, but you don't want to take on so many things that you struggle to have an evenly written essay. For the purposes of this example, we're going to say that the most important factors are the global economy and convenience. So I've chosen 2 here, and they come from different sources. So I noted the sources, source C for global economy and source G for convenience. The reason why it's important to note the sources is because you need to cite 3 sources in a synthesis essay anyway, and it needs to be 3 different sources. So if you identify your factors and write a little note to yourself about which sources those factors are found in, it will help you a little bit later as you're actually writing your essay. The next step is to decide which of the factors you've listed are the least important. And the reason you need to do this is because a counter argument is basically when you have either a counterclaim and rebuttal or concession and refutation. People use different terms, but the end result is pretty much the same thing. So the least important factors here are going to be what you argue against in your essay. When deciding upon the least important factors, you kind of need to look at how the documents themselves are set up. So I chose taste as a least important factor because I felt like there was not a very convincing argument for taste in the documents that tried to say that taste was a very important factor. And so I'm going to try to refute those claims. And then as far as nutritional benefit, source B actually says that there's only a marginal nutritional benefit, and they actually cite an expert who says this. So I'm going to latch on to the word marginal to basically prove that there are other things that are much more important than a very small nutritional benefit. Now that we've identified the most important and least important factors, we are ready to write a thesis statement. The word although tends to indicate that you're referencing the counterclaim. So here we have, although some may argue that local foods not only taste better, but are better for you. And then it ends with a comma there. Now, obviously that's not a complete sentence, but this is where we're addressing the opposition. This is where we're identifying those least important issues. This is the part where we're actually asserting our claim. So this would continue where the other slide left off. So instead of the ... there, the ellipses, you would not have that because this part would follow the comma after that although clause. So this says they fail to consider, so they being like some people, they fail to consider that solely eating foods grown within a 100-mile radius not only adversely impacts the global economy, but also unnecessarily inconveniences the average citizen. So we have a couple things going on here. We're sort of working in the definition of locavorism. And also I would like to point out that not only and but also are a pair. So we want to make sure that if we use one, we also use the other. Let's look at another example of a defensible counterargument thesis statement. So this one's going to be using the same reasons and logic. However, the format's going to be a little bit different. So some of you might prefer this style. And it is going to be more than one sentence, but that's okay because what we really need to make sure we do is we assert a clear position and we've identified some key issues. So this one says, yes, locally grown food has more time to ripen, which can potentially improve taste. Plus, experts admit locally grown food adds some, albeit marginal, nutritional value. So notice the wording here. We have potentially improve, and then we have albeit marginal. So that's kind of like reducing the good of it, but we're still acknowledging that there are potential benefits. Now we're going to assert our actual position. So this is a continuation of that sentence. So if you were writing this out for real, you wouldn't use the ellipses at the beginning here. but it says, but such benefits pale in comparison to the adverse impact locavorism has on the local economy. Not to mention the unnecessary inconvenience such a lifestyle poses to the already impossibly busy citizen. So notice the word choice of this part. We've got adverse impacts, so adverse is a negative impact. And then we've got the unnecessary inconvenience. So it might be a little bit redundant, but it makes it sound like it's more of a burden that way. And then the impossibly busy citizen. So this helps us create a little bit of a tone to our actual position that we're stating. We're going to add another sentence now, and it might seem like overkill, it might seem a bit redundant, but I want it to be very clear to my scorer that I'm trying to earn this defensible thesis point. And one thing to keep in mind is that in terms of like weight, if you will, or page space, you want your claim to outweigh your counterclaim. You want the claim to be not only the last thing that people read, but you want it to be very assertive. So in this case, because we developed our counterclaim a bit more than in the previous example, we want to develop our claim a bit more as well. So words like therefore, thus, and as such can be a really good way to signal that you're about to indicate your claim. And so we've got that transitional word here, and then you'll notice that the word choice here conveys the negativity of the other side. So we've got anecdotal claims and overinflated claims. That's referencing the stuff we've already said in our counterclaim, but an anecdote is a story. So an anecdotal claim is not a scientific claim. So this word choice dismisses the validity of that claim, and then overinflated does the same thing. So it's very clear here which side we're taking and why we believe that the other side is wrong. And that's what you want to do to create a defensible thesis. The last step is to double check that you clearly identify factors and assert a position. So if you can do those things, then you should have a defensible thesis. Now that you know how to write a defensible counterargument thesis, I hope that you will feel confident in your ability to earn the first of the 6 points available on the new AP Lang rubric. The next 4 points up for grabs are actually due to evidence and commentary. So if you are not subscribed to the channel yet, I hope that you will consider subscribing, because I'm going to be doing more videos in the future about how to develop a body paragraph and also how to earn that sophistication point. So you're not going to want to miss it. Until next time, guys, happy writing.